do this guy. Hmm. Hate when it does that. There we go. All right, let me drop this in, then I'll be ready. Copy. Oh, I did the wrong one. oops. That's going. All right. That looks up. That looks up. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
going to do that now. Hit that.
I'm gonna grab
All
a
right.
drink while that's loading up.
Yeah, you go ahead. Here we go. Bobblehead. Welcome to the Everyday Sniper. You got Frank at Snipers Hide, and we're here with Chris. He's over there live. He'll be back in a second. He just went to go get himself a drink of something to wet his whistle. It's hot out there. Oh, it's going to be hot. We just had crazy, insane storms yesterday and got trapped inside with hail, rain, wind. It was like snow out here. It was so haily and everything. And then it was funny because, like, Chris sent the video. He's like, look at this downpour. And like 15 minutes later, it hit my house, and we were out there like, look at this crazy downpour. It's insane. Crazy Eddie insane. And this is the world domination, seeing how everybody's dominating, so we don't want to be left out from the domination. And so we're in the world domination tour. Hey, Chris. He's like, hi. We're live at the
Man, it
Hide.
was toasty. It was toasty. It's still toasty, and it's gonna stay toasty,
Hunter this weekend. I don't
except for
know.
the crazy weather.
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna get hit in Wyoming, but it's gonna be 100 to 105 this weekend down here, starting like Friday. So you may
Oh
be
my
up there.
God.
Yeah, it's gonna be super hot. You may need shorts and flip flop when you go to Douglas up there if it's the same weather as we have here.
I'm wearing running shorts, and I'm gonna
Mm,
wear them at the match.
yeah, I mean, what else would
You
you
can't
really want?
hustle in flip flops, but I I could. Although there's snakes, not that running shoes is gonna make a difference with snakes, but I'm gonna just go in running shorts, and I don't own any tank tops, but
I didn't realize the Burris. So the Burris match, you're doing a team event, and it's a gas gun one, almost like they do Team Dynamics. They're doing it set up like it's not.
it's competition dynamics. It's just sponsored by Burris, so they call it the Burris Optics Team Challenge, but it's run by Competition Dynamics. So it's a CD match, one of their big four. It's like Steel Safari. It's almost identical as Steel Safari, except the field stages are points for time. So it's locate, range, engage, and there's 8 targets. And like the other matches, Steel Safari's 6, but you either have all 8 or there's 4 and then you move and do another 4, or the same 4 from a different position. But the gas gunner has to hit half the targets before the bolt gunner can shoot, and the bolt gunner gets one shot.
Yeah.
Um,
So very
so you have to
competition
be
dynamics.
good. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of strategies people employ. The only strategy I've ever done is try to be precise and get it over with as fast as you can for your bolt gunner to shoot, but also because you have the ability to shoot, if you're good with a gas gun, you can give a good win call to your bolt gunner and guarantee more hit percentage from a good
Right.
win call. But then you hustle up to the first position, and because it's points for time, they start your time at the beginning. And then when you're through the whole field course, they stop the time. And then they get your points and they divide your points by time through some kind of algorithm. So a competitive team doesn't drop that many points. And then what that ends up meaning is that it largely comes down to speed. Um, because the top teams typically have the same number of hits. So whoever gets through it the fastest. Occasionally, there's a target you can't find and you can skip it. I mean, because you're not timed on a stage. So you roll up to the stage and you just, as soon as you get there, you start looking. And as soon as you're done, if you sit around, you're just killing time. So you got to pack your shit up and haul ass to the next one. And it's easy to forget that you've got to get to the next one quickly. And they stagger the teams by 20 minutes. So if you happen to catch the team in front of you or the team behind you catches up to you, the team that's passing, you have to step aside for. And then you can't just flip flop back and forth. You got to defer to them so they can continue.
Oh,
But you're hustling pretty good. They're about 2 miles, and in the heat, it'll be hard with all your stuff to be, trying to go fast, not overheat, also find your stuff, and then the stress of not finding an eighth target. So you're looking and you find one, two, three, four, five, or whatever, and then the gas gunner can shoot them. But if you haven't found three, maybe you don't want to shoot them first because you're trying to get a wind call that's closer to the gas gunner. And then you find two more, but the seventh, it's still not all of them. And you know that there's a good chance a team might find all eight. So how long do you give yourself before you force yourself to leave? I think everybody worries about that a little bit. And then the bolt gunners just got to be good because they get one shot.
yeah. Yeah. I did that with
And the
Adam
gas gunner
Burt.
has unlimited, but some of them are fucking tiny. Like,
Right. Right. Like I know when you were talking to somebody the other day, you were mentioning how those close ones are just those rectangle slivers that are sometimes even smaller than the strap.
yeah, I mean, they don't have like NRL Hunter, they'll say left to right or near to far.
Mhm.
And CD tries to, not have so many rules. Their rule is gas gunner can shoot unlimited and the bolt gunner gets one shot per target. They don't, the order makes no difference.
Yeah, but
So
you
a
have to
lot of
call
times
it.
yeah, a lot of times the close one is tiny
Right.
and a farther one might be bigger, but there might be tiny ones too. They're just kind of all different sizes. But when I say tiny, I'm like a 2/10 target. And the 2/10 target could be anywhere from 200 yards to 800 yards, but it's still 2/10. Like it's very small. And if a bolt gunner only gets one shot, you need to be able to dial in their wind call. And they're also different. So if you just go left to right or near to far, that might not be the best strategy. But with a gas gun, if the close ones are 2/10, but the farther ones are a little bit bigger. Some guys just get on it, they see it, they start
And they just
shooting,
kept going, right?
but the cone of fire is bigger than the target. So
Yes.
they're going right, left, right, left, right, left, just burning through tons and tons and tons of ammo. And then all you got to do is go, oh, shit, at 800 yards, there's a 5/10 target. I'm going to shoot that instead.
Yeah. Yeah, I did it with Adam Burt. He was the bolt gunner and I was the gas gunner. I had the Valkyrie at the time.
Uh-huh.
I shot the cuz he was still at JP. I shot the JP Valkyrie and then he
Hmm.
had they were doing that bolt gun the ultimatum in the JP chassis and he had a 6.5 PRC. And so yeah, my goal for him when I was the gas gunner was making sure he had time to get his bolt gun shots set up and hit without me leaving him a minute, because
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot. And then even like, I mean, just as an example, at the time, it was a there was about 3 people that were using Valkyries that I saw, but in my squad, or you know how you're, I was ROing. The guy in front of me had a Valkyrie. I had a Valkyrie, and then the guy behind me who IRO'd for had a 223, a 556. And it was easy to see. We were like 3 to 4 shots a hit when you did the kind of pop, pop, pop. and he was like 5 to 8, and he was kind of because I was scoring him, so I was able to see it, and so the the gas gunner having a good gas gun absolutely made a difference.
Oh,
You
for
know,
sure. And if you're
yeah.
banking on, let's say you did 6 shots per target, um, you know, you're shooting well over 100 rounds that you have to have on you to hit. So you're probably going to want to carry 120, 100 and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. That's a lot of weight to hustle with. And because there's you got to haul ass. So knowing how much ammo you need to carry, but not carrying too much, will allow you to be a little bit faster potentially. But yeah, who wants to carry around, 200 rounds because you're going to be
Yeah,
just
popping the
showering it with,
yeah, you know, rain fire.
yeah. We last year we tried on a couple of them because you can usually see one or two as you're running up,
Right.
not even ranging it, just walk it in and hit, walk it in and hit. And I don't know that that's better or worse because you're going to hit it, but then you're still going to get a range for your bolt gunner. And even though you hit it holding a subtension that you could say, oh, that's 300 yards, a good bolt gunner's not going to just say, all right, cool,
Yeah. Well, and
because
go
yeah,
ahead.
they get one shot, so they want a
Right,
range.
right. Well, and honestly, that's the benefit of the laser on the optic. You know what I mean? You put your
Yeah,
reticle on it, you double check everything with one button push. It's no time because you don't get out of the scope really. And so you want that weapons mounted laser to really game these events now, especially ones that are on the clock. I know
yeah. We didn't do
there's
that last year, but this year I brought the laser
did you get it
and
sorted this time? Do
making
you have
sure.
it aimed now? Working?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What was it? What was the
Y-
offset? Do you know, or you just got it to work?
Oh man. I kind of just dialed it in. I mean, I measured the offset was 2 inches.
Okay, and that's about what
Um,
we figured.
but I took my foam board that I draw on, the foam boards, and I
Mm-hmm.
put 2 inches, I put 2 dots on it, and then out of my apartment, I there's a gap through the trees, and around 70 yards, there's a clearing where I could kind of, not stand out there with a rifle, but
Mm-hmm.
from deep inside the house, have a shot at this thing. And I pointed the laser, and it wasn't even on the board. It was way off to the right, so I kind of brought it back in. Um, and checked it, and then I checked it on a couple things, but I still have to go confirm it. I was going to do that today, but I had that fucking garbage shit, so I didn't confirm it.
Right.
But I did after I did it here yesterday morning. I went to Green Mill, and there's these pipes that are up on the dump, but they have foam wrapper on it, so I couldn't get a good return on all of them. But there were some fence posts, and it worked on the fence post. And I checked the right, the left, the top to make sure I knew where it was, and it
Mm-hmm.
was consistent. So I'm pretty sure now it's parallel and it's 2 inches. So I'm holding it down around 2/10, on that upper
Right,
part of the
right, which is
reticle.
fine to be a little below
I mean,
center,
not
but
two
yeah,
tenths, 2 mils.
2 mils. Okay, that's where
Um,
you thought you were going to have to be.
and it Yeah, it's ranging it. I mean, I think I'm gonna have binoculars and that, but I think it's good just to be on and tap something and be like, all right, that's good,
Yeah.
and shoot. And I could shoot holdovers or dial. So if I just keep it as holdovers, then I won't have to worry about anything, and I'll just range, range, range. Um, but it's a little extra weight, but they don't weigh that much. I mean,
No.
yeah, I'm a big guy, but I don't want to carry an extra 10 pounds, but an extra pound isn't going to matter. I was thinking about bringing the Seekins AR-10, but um, that's almost 6 pounds heavier. So I think I'm just going to use this unless something happens. After this, I'm going to go reshoot it just to make sure it cycles right. And then,
Yeah.
if it works good, because it worked good. But that fucking AR, like, it's good, it's accurate, but it gets finicky.
Well, I mean, and that's just it because we're shooting them for precision and we're not trying to, kick in a door. And so you're looking to get the same amount of accuracy out of your, semi as you are with your bolt gun, which they're doing it. It's just been hitting on the right combo of ammo for you because I mean the factory ammo has just been such a wild swing when you look at how much, I mean, in the last week, how much ammo have you tested? It had
A
to have
lot.
been, yeah, it had to be 6 different variations of stuff, right? At least.
Yeah,
I don't, it was quite a bit.
yeah, I tested 4 lots of Burger, 2 lots of Hornady, 2 lots of Federal, um, that ammo that Chris Roberts, the 77 grain, um, some Lapua,
Mhm.
and this gun just, there's a fine line between pressure and the precision, and the ammo that cycles fine tends not to have a good enough group. The ammo that has a good group tends to have higher pressure, and it'll start blowing primers. And I have a suppressor on it, um, but I like that because we could talk and not, and also in 100 degrees,
Right, you don't
you
want the
know,
ears on.
having ears on when it's 100 degrees out and you're hustling 2 miles with your shit, like anything to stay cooler.
Yeah. I mean, it and it's such we I mean, like you said, you've been pulling but the flow through helped with it because you were really fighting the gas stuff until I gave you the flow through, right? So you had the able and you put that
Yeah.
flow through, and then that's when you text me and you were like, "Hey, that flow through's working."
Yeah. So the Ables are awesome suppressors, and we got the brakes that we were shooting, but what, at least in 3 guns, the flow through, I've seen, like, regardless of the brake capacity, the flow through, all of them shoot better with the flow through on it.
Yeah.
And I didn't do the back and forth test for groups with the flow through versus the brake, but when I put the flow through on, I get the best groups out of them.
Right. So it
And
stopped. I mean, you're running out of time, so I mean, what can you
right.
do?
But I like the flow through, just for its ability to just kind of keep it. I don't know what it's doing to the harmonics of the barrel, but everything shoots better with the flow through cap.
Well, it's more like
So,
a pass through instead of that interrupted. You know what I mean? So you're kind of passing the gas through instead of it being interrupted at every baffle in a
well,
way.
I wonder if it wiggles from the gas hitting it versus not wiggling when it
Right,
shoots.
and that's what I'm thinking. It's exactly that. It's flowing through versus interrupted, interrupted, interrupted out the hole, And
Because
so
the what's it called? The Havoc, the light
mhm.
sequence with the pencil fit thin barrel. I put the suppressor on that. Of course, it's a pencil barrel with a big ass suppressor on it. But when I put the flow through on it, whoosh, it shot the 123s and the 100 grainers. It was like quarter inch instantly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you want. I mean, that's what we're looking for. These are the precision rifles, and honestly, we are fighting the ammo. Like I'm playing around with the arc stuff and looking at that, and that stuff is shooting good. But then, like what you ran into, you grabbed a box. Like I said, we checked 6 different variations, and that one 10 shot group you did was a SD over 30. So it's like, what
Hmm.
can you do with a SD over 30 when you're trying to get a score? I mean, they make it to where everything almost has to be hand loaded, but at the same time, we shouldn't have to hand load. You know? When you
Yeah, but
consider the
then there's
targets
the
we're
problem at
shooting,
distance.
right, but think even to the 800. And we're getting to the backside of a lot of our curves, not the 5.56, but everything else. But 800 those plates aren't small. 2 MOA is still going to be a 16 incher. That's not very precise when we think about it. That's wider than an
Right.
18, by 24. And so
Yeah.
it 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 it's a weird thing. Like I ordered, like I'll get it because I barreled action. I'm gonna get ready to do the video on the barreled actions. I really like the idea of the barreled actions. I mean, granted, we go with the AIs and we have the terminus. So to change calibers, to change something, the AIs and the terminus is our pieces of cake. You know what I mean? We swap the barrel, we get a barrel. We're sub $1,000 and we swap it out and we're down the road. But that's not a reality for a lot of people. And even then, we're finding like all the combinations of things that you're looking to do, whether it's NRL Hunter, whether it's PRSE type, or it's these nomads, the competition dynamics stuff. Every one of them wants something a little bit different. Where the barreled action moving chassis or stocks is really your only cost saving you're going to find. You're going to need 3 chassis and some kind of barreled action that falls in the middle to put into each chassis in order to make all the rules correctly to be top tier, right? Because you can compromise and be a sub tier, like with the skill stages and the ammos and the things. But if you want to be sort of the open guy, you know, um,
Well,
it's
okay, so yeah, I mean, it is a good point, and I do think that there's probably a lot of ways through it. But if SD is the issue, not group size, then the max range needs to be inside of or right at the end of that curve where SD doesn't matter. So if it's inside, let's say 0.9 seconds time of flight for the calibers we're shooting or something like that, I just don't think we're going to play it out over a big plate. We just need to make the plate smaller. Um,
well, but that's what I
I mean,
mean. Cause like you run into the case where you're checking everything, and it's too big here, too small here, too different here, and so it says, yeah, it should be easy. We're not past that second time of flight. We're not doing this. We're not doing that yet. We're still being limited by that box,
yeah. I mean,
you
I think
know?
if it was 900 and in, because the 100 grain Hornady had a SD of like 27, but we still shoot 5-inch groups at 900 because it's so fast, and the
Right.
initial group was small. So if you could shoot a good group on paper,
But we know 2750 won't do the same thing.
right? So that's going to pull in
Yeah.
to whatever that distance where the SD comes out, but that could be managed. I mean, if you had one MOA targets, let's say you did a competition that was one MOA to 800, I think that as long as your ammo shot that good, or let's say half inch, if your ammo shot half inch, it was a one MOA competition. I don't think hand loads are going to make that big of a difference. But when you get out past 800, now we're talking about percentages changing. And then with ELR, like you just don't have a choice. Like if you have a SD bigger than 5, odds are that some shots you may not be able to make.
Right. But the problem is some of these factory boxes, like, you run into, it's like, okay, I mean, you got to chase lots to make sure you're not getting a weird flyer or something that goes a little odd because some of them do throw around a little weird versus the hand loads, like, even going through with the arc, because that's recent for me, where I went the 80 grain, the 103, the 105, and the 108. The 80 and the 105 were really similar, and then the 103 and the 108 are really similar. You'd have to pair them that way, because if you went like 80 103, it it would look different. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be right. But if you went 8105, you would notice it worked. If you went 103, 108, it works. Because I've been bouncing back and forth between the 103 and the 108, and like both of those shoot sub half minute, but the 80 and the 105 don't. And that's where I notice, if I put the 80, because it's so fast, it's 3,000 feet per second, it does the 100 grain stuff, right? So it acts
Mhm.
like the 100 grain for us. But then you kind of look in the 105, which is the black, it's nowhere near it downrange.
Mhm.
And then you go the 103 and the 108, and they're almost the same. And other than like recoil, I can notice the 103 is a lot lighter. It feels better when I shoot the 103, and I'm happier with the 103 versus that 108. But those two shoot nearly identical, which is crazy. It's
Yeah,
just it's and like I said, it all it would take is the wrong box. And like I ran into
yeah,
with the Valkyrie, the 90 grain Valkyrie, nobody spotted it. Nobody was able to see it. When I was in Colville with it, Colville is all green, all wet. It's Washington State, so it rains and it's very green. Nobody can see a miss. When it hit the plate past 600, the ROs were like, damn, dude, that was hard, or I didn't see it. Even like I did that one time at um what the hell here at the Greeley match. I had to tell the guy at that far one, I'm gonna shoot a sighter in the dirt. I want you to see it. And then when I go to that big hanging plate, you won't see it. I'm letting you know where it is. My first round, I put in the dirt for the guy to see it. So that way, there, when I hit the plate, he knew I was hitting it. So there are some weirdness that I notice that we're experiencing ammo wise in the post COVID world, and we demonstrated that variation between pre COVID and post COVID several times now. And I just think you could get bit. And it bugs me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't risk it, as far is kind of
Right,
what I'm saying. Like, I don't care.
right.
I shoot factory ammo everywhere I go. I've never shot a match with hand loads, and so I know I'm going to be down, but there really is something to say for that level of consistency in these sub 5 hand loads they do, because once you hit that sub 5, in my mind, it changes the game for the bullet. That's, SD of 3 is a completely different thing than an SD of a 7. And while it doesn't seem like it should be, I feel it is.
So, I mean, like you, I shoot factory ammo, and I worry about this a lot. And you see ammo that's good, and then you get another lot, and it's bad. And how realistic or practical is it for people to go test different lots? And, if they ordered it online, they would have no way to know. And, but hand loading is a huge time sink that not everybody has the ability to do. And even then, there could be stuff that happens, but factory ammo can do a lot. I think
Yeah. I mean, I agree because we shoot
finding,
it every day. Don't get me wrong. We shoot it every
yeah,
day, but for score, when the points are so tight,
yeah,
I feel it's tough if you're trying to make a name or make a go for it to just bounce in. Like, I feel you're an anomaly that way, that you can bounce in with factory ammo and come out with a podium or come out with a top 10. I don't feel that's the same for everyone. Why? I can't really say. And, but I do feel that it does create I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because we do see ones that are not where they're supposed to be. It's like, whoa, where did that
Hmm.
go? Or
Yeah.
even it's like, man, right. And then the next round's fine, and it's
Well,
like,
like what you did at Fort Morgan with the 338. I mean, we're talking about 150 feet per second difference in lots pre and post COVID.
yes,
Like, you can't say nothing changed because we have both. Why are we seeing this huge difference? And with Hornady, like, why are we seeing SDs of 27? But the other
but
hand, we're also saying like, oh shit, it's so fast, it doesn't matter to 900. But
yeah,
you
yeah.
still don't want, you're like, why is it doing this?
But most of the match, like we're doing varmint stuff now. If you think about this, we're grabbing the varmint ammo. Most guys on the block are gonna get the match.
Mhm.
In the match is where we're seeing the 2750, and that's the 108 as well. That 108 is a 2750 also. And in 2750 in the wind at distance isn't always your friend.
Mm-mm.
Where
Well,
three
because it slowed down so much.
Yes, where 3000 in the 100 grain, like you said, at 900 we don't see it because it's going too fast and it doesn't matter. But like the arc, the 108 or the 103, one of those, I think both of them, one was a 6 and one was a 4 for the SD, but then the blacks was 18 and the 80 was up in the 18s as well. So it was like that, I got the 105 black was a 18, the 80 grain was in the 18 to 22. I think that was even 22 without me looking. But then 103 and 108 were 6 and 4. And so it just if one box is off, say
Right.
you're counting on a 5, and then out of that case you grab a box and it's a 15 and you're not expecting that. That's kind of where my trepidation comes in with guys like, and I get it cuz like we run factory hardcore, and it just seems I'm going to find out cuz I grabbed that barreled action. I threw it in my vision like the for NRL Hunter. What's max is 16, is that heavy?
Yeah, 16 pounds is heavy, and then 12 pounds is light.
Okay, cuz dropping that barreled action in the vision, it's 14 pounds right now. I didn't check it with the scope on it, but I can move I can get a like less than 2 pound um scope to put on there. So I put that 25 Creedmoor in the vision right now, and it's in that. I went yesterday and I ordered 2 cases of the 25 Creedmoor from Hornaday. So I got 2 cases
Oh,
coming,
sweet.
and this in my like I had no idea what the factory. I know they had factory 25 Creedmoor. I didn't
Mhm.
look at Hornaday's website for the 25 Creedmoor. I just searched it, went to Target Sport USA and ordered it.
Yeah.
What I noticed, it's the 134 grain bullet.
Yeah.
Right.
I know
And
the one that they're shooting, a lot of people are shooting. I have this Element chassis too. If you want to try to put it in it, I could just bring it over. There's nothing in it, but um,
well, but
you
that's
know,
what I was
that,
saying, why I think that action, like I'll give it to you to swap out and use. The thing is that it's like in my mind, barreled action and then multiple chassis because of the variations in the spec. Like
yeah.
with the vision, and I can make the vision fit. I have a weight in the front I can take out. I have the uh
Well, I'll bring
right.
this over for you, and then you could try both
Yeah, yeah,
because
for
it's just sitting
sure.
in my closet. Like, but I think for Hunter, I mean, you might want to paint it if you don't like
No,
booger
I don't
green,
give a
but
shit about that. I mean, that
um,
don't make
I
any
think it was
difference.
like they had some funny name for it because I thought, oh man, that's gonna be cool. And I don't mind it, but it was
But
like spectral booger green or something. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
like these elements because they're light and they're balanced well. But it might shoot, you might drop, a pound or something.
Well, but
I don't know with the vision.
that's what I want to do is I want to move it around, and I actually have downstairs as well what I was going to switch it to. I didn't know you had that. Was a hunting 26 cuz I wanted to see how it felt cuz that's a pretty heavy barrel and pretty long that you did. I don't know what spec you have for that, but that's a pretty solid barrel on that action.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's gonna sit nice on a bag. It's gonna be front heavy with that. So like I think a hunting 26, which is only 26 ounces, right? That's all that weighs. So that's gonna
That's
be on
probably the lightest. Yeah.
right. So I wanted to see how it shot and if there was the way to balance it because the hunting 26 does have some M lock on it. I may be able to rebalance it a little with a weight. But in the vision, I know it was 14 pounds with one weight in it. I have 1 pound, you know? And so I'm curious to see because, like I've said this before, in 6.5 Creedmoor, and I meant to bring one up, but I didn't. It's the 136. That's the sweet spot.
That bullet is so good.
Right. And so the Sako TRG ammo with the loaded 136 in it, to me, is the perfect 6.5 Creedmoor load. And then you see this 25 Creedmoor drop in to the 134, which is I know that's where the blackjack was, the 135, 134. I get that. But again, I'm that's another sweet spot.
Hmm.
And so it
Do you,
is
what's the, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to just jump in,
no,
but
no,
like,
you're
what
cool.
is the deal with the 136? Like the L, the long range
Yeah.
136 shoots, is it the bullet because it's
It
fucking
is the
amazing?
bullet. It's Lapua and
Or,
it's their L, their Cinar long, you know?
so every time I've shot that, it's like amazing.
Well,
Like, you know,
it's a 140 class bullet. The BC's a
yeah.
140 class
Hmm.
bullet and a 136 weight. So what does that give you? It gives you your speed back from the 140. So it puts the 6.5 Creedmoor in that 28 to 2850 sweet spot. Because the
Yeah.
130s go 29, right? The 140s go 2750. The 136s, depending on your rifle and barrel, are right in that that sweet spot of 28 to 2850. Like even the 143, because I'm gonna do that Detroit Gun Works. I'm gonna do the video on the barreled action with that because I bought a barreled action from them, and that's how I moved forward. So I'm thinking about that. Like a 143, the normal 143 is 3 mils at 500. You know, so you're looking at 3 mils with a 143, and I'm 2.4 with a 130. You know, that 2 point or that 2850 puts you in the 2.5, you know, which is a sweet spot for us. So, I mean, it's like we've all pointed this out over years. Like, hey, this is a sweet spot. And everybody's like, yeah, 140. Yeah, 140. And then it's like a new Gucci comes out and they go right to 134. And it's like, and then even Federal, you look at what, like the ammo you go at Mile High, the Federal for 6.5 Creed, it's the
Hmm.
130. It's always the
That's
one,
good.
right? It's super good stuff because it's lighter. And you want to be in the 130 zone and not in the 140. Now, they upped the speed a little bit with the 153 and 56 to bring that back to 2750.
The 156 I shot
Right,
uh
it was super heavy, so that
two
goes
days
slow as
ago. It was
shit.
like 20, 25, 40 or something. So it was
Right.
really slow.
Well,
Like it's gonna fall out of
exactly,
the air.
and it's meant for hunting and it's meant close. But those kind of float. You know what I mean? You're kind of just lobbing those guys and they stay because they are so heavy. I mean, and it takes, like you said, to 900 yards for the 100 grain in the 156 to match each other.
Yeah. So one thing that keeps coming up though is like the wind drift stuff. And I get that you could look and say, well, or somebody I've seen arguments like, well, I'm going to go with the heavy because it's got this much wind drift, and they compare it to a 10, and then they compare it, or whatever with like a static wind. But if you actually look at the wind hold, some of them, I mean, if you hold for a 10-mile-an-hour wind with either bullet, it's the edges, the margin of error, not the actual hold itself. So if you're good at wind culling, a marginally less efficient bullet isn't going to be that much less efficient. Like if
Right.
we look at the difference between, I think it would be cool to take a comparison or do a visual that said it's an 8-mile-an-hour wind. If you have a gun that's a 5-mile-an-hour gun and a 7-mile-an-hour gun, they'll say, "Well, seven's better." But if you know it's an 8-mile-an-hour wind, they could both hit center. I think the difference is what's the budget left and right if you're off a tiny bit. But if you're decent at wind calling, carrying it isn't that much of a challenge.
Yeah. I kind of noticed though, the more you look at people, they fall off the call and then go to the, range by fire or I'll fix it by fire. So it's like I'm going to do all my homework up front, but then once I'm in the game, they sort of fall off the homework a little bit unless they're pushed to do it. It's like, okay, I got it. This is fine. Oh, I hit it over here and everything's good and this stage is in the same spot. So they kind of, let it go. And then if you have a 2 mile an hour variation, that's your difference right there because I think people do get lazy with it. And then if they have a good stage, then they'll carry that to the next one instead of saying, well, wait a minute, it's now 30 minutes later that I'm shooting the next stage. I'm in the relative same spot, but did anything change? And they just go, no, I'm good. Because the first target's 400. So they know they're going to edge it and then pull a call. But that doesn't always answer the entire range's question for them in that target package. See where I'm saying with that?
Yeah,
So that's where you're in my mind, you're the anomaly. You dope every shot to the point, or at least every stage you're doping. And then you're going up with your first shot and you're looking at that and validating it, and then you carry it out from there. You're like, okay, I got it. Because now it validated everything that I thought from behind the line, where I feel other people that I notice, they'll do that early. They don't do it often.
right, right. Um, but then that's an education thing, and that's what we're trying to do
Yes.
with people is say, look, like instead of that way, if you learn this and become fluid, this might help you stay on, right?
Correct, correct. And we see that.
Yeah.
I mean, this win clinic, I mean, we should talk a bit about your win clinic. And
Yeah.
your win clinic this week. I mean, you even had somebody in the class that was lackadaisical
Yeah.
and how they were like, yeah, I kind of get it, but I'm just here to shoot. It's like, I kind of get it. I'll follow up a little bit, but oh, I'm going to shoot that target. And so then at the end they were like, oh, on the, later I got it better because I thought about it. But the hits you were getting when they dope every plate was we had a vertical and horizontal, an X on every or a cross. These guys were hitting center cross.
Yeah, some of them had vertical. All right, yeah, let's back up because I think that is worth it. So the class that's on Hide TV, the Hide TV, we did a clinic and we decided to strip it. We don't need to talk about theory and other stuff. Let's just show them how to do it and see how that works in a limited time. Now, I'm gonna like jump to the end and then it's like foreshadowing in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I love foreshadowing.
if if you're gonna learn something of value, it's gonna take a little bit of time for it to sink in. Like, think about
Yes.
anything that you've learned as an adult. If it's a trick where we just whisper like hold left edge and you get hits, like you didn't really learn anything. And it's not, but if you really have to learn something and then put it to good use, it's going to take a little bit of getting comfortable with. And I think people largely just want to be shown a trick or told, like, oh, you're a good shooter, pat you on the back, like, yo, you're already a good shooter. If you're a good shooter and you have a system that, works okay, and you get shown a system that works a little bit better, but it's like half of what you do, but a little bit different. That different part is going to make you feel weird. So I started by saying the guys that are very proficient in this and getting trophies all the time, they took 3 to 6 months of work while we were developing it to turn it into a fluency. But 3 to 6 months, if you think about it, isn't that long. We can do it shorter now, but we're talking about a quarter of a season. Like, it it isn't that much work, but it's more than just I came for the day. I expect to be awesome by the end of the day. Like
Right.
if it was that easy, like there would be a lot of people shooting a lot better, right? So it said you're gonna learn it. You're gonna start to feel like you get it. It's gonna click, but you need to practice for a couple weeks, at least in your head. And once then it'll start like becoming fast. But if we go slow, you'll get it and you'll be able to do it. But then you got to just like let it sink in and don't do your other way. Just let this
Yeah.
work for you.
There's a tear
But
down. You have to break the old habits and then rebuild the new fundamental or the new habit. So you have to expect sort of a deconstructing of your current method and a rebuilding of a new method around it. And we'll notice that because we change up people completely in our class, especially like with Mark and that. We'll change people to a nth degree, or we'll get somebody that's a bench person and we put them on the ground, or if we put them on a bench, we put them on a bench different than they were shooting at home because they're doing the bench rest bench. We're doing the squared behind it bench. But what I'll notice is you'll get like one guy who has his load tuned to him and he's a decent shooter. He shoots a really good group in the fundamental eval. The second group in the afternoon is not good. The third
Mhm.
one's better, and then the fourth one's back where he was with the new habit. But we do notice that there is a tear down and then a time to rebuild for people, which is why we do reps. And that's where the
Right.
repetitions come in, and that's why we're trying to build positive neural pathways for everyone. And let's fix a bad habit, which they say that's the 9,000 reps to fix a bad habit. So,
Okay, so
you know,
this isn't a gun, right? It's just a chassis. Are we on YouTube?
yeah, we are, but I mean,
Oh,
you picked it up before and I don't think they kicked us off, so.
but I'm just gonna hold the buttstock here. It's because this goes along with what you're saying, right? This is kind of mostly off, right?
Mhm.
So okay, the shooter that shoots perfect dead nut zero tight group, right? And then they get in the positional assessment and they're they're all consistent, but they're 2/10 high or they're 2/10 low. And they say, oh, my positional shooting isn't very good. Why am I shooting low? And we say, I think you're inducing a shift prone and you're consistent everything else because when they're off the ground and they shove their face on it, it
Yes.
sends it high, right?
Well, that's
So
Mark's
they
hinging, right? Mark sees it.
so
That's
they
the
can't
hinging in the bag. Yes.
so they learn not to do that. They index, but they don't shove down because they're just going to shoot their round up. So they do everything consistent this way, but when they get prone, they freaking shove their face down and push the, and then when it shoots, bang, it goes in the bag. Bang, it goes in the bag. And it's consistent. So they zero that way. And then all of a sudden, when they're actually fundamentally consistent across positions, they think there's something wrong, but they don't realize that they self-corrected
Yeah.
the face shove and they're wrongly identifying it with their friggin' head on the bag prone. And we say, okay, don't do that. And they're like, wow, everything is perfectly consistent. And then 10 minutes later, they're shoving their face down again and their shots are going high. See, you're putting your head on the, right. Like
Yeah.
that's hard to unlearn because it's habitual. But when with the wind, like we had the class, I talk a lot, but I told them like, look, you don't have to shoot to learn this. Let's go through it first, and then we'll shoot. And to keep everything out, just to keep it fair, we said, hey, you guys make the win call using this, and one of you shoot. So one guy's like, I'll shoot. He gets down. What are you saying the wind is? Okay, hold this. And he hits the vertical line in the center of the plate, like in the dot. At first, I was like,
Yeah.
God, I saw the plate move. I saw the plate move. I hear it. Oh shit, it's in the dot. And I was like, okay, now I understand it could be luck. Like you could just blow a shot and hit dead center plate. I was like, so shoot that one 45 degrees to the right, different range, but everybody make the win call again. Don't worry about that. Just start from scratch. And he hits the vertical line there too.
I know.
Like, and they're like, what? So then we're like, all right, let's get a different shooter and shoot, this way, a different angle. Everybody make the wing call. He hits the vertical line. And it was like, oh my God, that's when you get scared because you're like, it can only get worse from here.
Yes, no, it doesn't get better. It never gets better, really, but it did. It actually got good because everybody was comfortable. But and the other thing too with the rear bag, if you're not straight up and down, and the recoil isn't just going in here, like Chris said, you can create a hinge, and then the bag will drop, and then recoil wants to go under your shoulder. If you don't have your butt up in those positions, then the recoil is going to want to go down under your shoulder. And the same thing on the tripods. We'll notice the guys will have the rifle on the tripod and it loops. It's not straight back recoil, it loops recoil because they dip in the back, just like Chris said. Their head's pushing down, there's no support in the back. When they're on the tripod, they just have the bag. So it's easy to get rear pressure down because nothing's really holding it. And then, as you say, if you do that over, it's always consistent for people. People make the same mistake the same way over and over and over again. You absolutely can group that way. And so that's what happens. And we've seen it. And I've said that's never going to hit. That person's looping, or they're not recoiling straight off the bag. And so yeah, it changes so many things, and there's so many of these little variables that the speed in the varmint makes up for it.
That's true. That
Yeah.
is true. And then
Mhm.
to loop back to the reluctance thing, like it's normal to hear, like you say, okay, I'm a pretty good shooter. When you hear somebody saying something that's totally different than what you do, and sometimes it's hard to stop and go, I'm pretty good, and that's nothing like what I do. Maybe I'll just shoot a little bit instead of listen because that sounds crazy. But when he saw, so there were six people, five of them were hitting like the vertical line, and they kind of went to like workshop it a little bit, just like, all right, now you try to do it for yourself and shoot. Everybody's hitting the line and he's hitting the plate, but it's all over the plate. Then he came back and said, like, can we go over this again?
Yeah, yeah, a couple
And then
times.
and then he got it. But it took seeing the class, like just, I think you look around and you're like, well, I'm probably better than them. And then they're just wiping the floor with win calls. And you're like, I need to go ask and like, and then
Yeah, follow up. I need to follow up with this because I'm not playing the game right because everybody else is
which
hammering.
which is okay. Like I get it. I'm glad he saw that and said, "Hey, I need some help with this," because at the end he was doing the same thing. But I think a lot of people are going to realize, if let's say you get your 30th every time you go to a match, 30th, 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 but next match you're going to be 40th because 10 people that do this are going to pass you. When enough people pass you, go, what the hell is everybody doing? And you
Mm-hmm.
realize they have a better win system, then you're behind the curve. I think this is going to change a lot of shooters. So I
Well,
do think it's going to bring up performance in a lot of, particularly people that are getting out to like hunter matches. If you can get it going for a couple weeks so that you can do it on a stage, your hit percentages are going to be very high.
so I'm here. Um, I got the Sniper's Hide app, the Gravity Ballistics. I got Gravity Ballistics in my hand. I'm in the profile that I used at Cameo, and so if you look here, there's gun number in there now. So you put in your gun number with your profile, right? So I'll save that guy. Gun saved up. So my gun number's saved. I'm good. If I go to the range card, right? You got a range card in there, but look there on the bottom, share card, set wind, or if you go to dope at the bottom, set wind, you come up and there's your set wind for your direction and your speed for the shot. So then now the numbers need to be tweaked a little bit on there, but you're going to set your wind, direction, distance, gun numbers in your profile. It'll know what you are. And then you'll go up and it'll put the hold. It's not in there now because they're correcting some math. Um, but that's where it'll end up being. So wind speed 6, clock angle 9, there, and then range card, dope. And it'll have the hold when it comes up. So this will definitely have all that in there. And then the hold, they just have to fix the math. But there's a hold column. I'm gonna get rid of the other columns. So first start with the Gravity Ballistics, adding the craft wind is moving. We just gotta sort out
It's
hiccups.
going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, we're going to have to set well, we'll talk offline. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
realized
that's
like we
that
have to we
this
have
is
to
the
change
this is
something,
the
but
sausage getting made, but I'm showing you that you'll be able to do your win with Gravity Ballistics. It's going to do the craft win math. And so you're not going to be doing some worm formula, some old, whatever. You're doing the craft win math using your gun number. It'll be angle and speed, and that'll give us our cosines and everything that we need to put in. And then we like I said, the sausage is getting made. This was minute 1, and so we'll go back and fix that
yeah,
for
yeah, that's not live, right? They don't
No,
see
no,
that.
nothing's live, and
Okay.
it's not
Phew.
live. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
not live.
dude, the addition of gravity ballistics and craft wind, like I'm excited to go out and do some tests, like just for videos to say, look, we don't have anything, and here we are. But we could take two shots, and I bet we're good for anything that we shoot at in this
Yeah.
range, and then prove it. Because it literally, with two shots, we get gravity ballistics, and in those two shots, we get wind, and you're set, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
freaking amazing without a chronograph, without weather. I mean, you're just ready to go, like bang, bang, bang. And if you could change it on the fly, you're dynamic. It's a good pair.
Yeah. Oh, totally, totally. And like we had mentioned several times, the craft wind is working in the horizontal, the gravity ballistics is working in the vertical, and so we're solving the problem in a similar way. So
Yeah,
we're
I mean, it's XY.
yeah, and so the way the two pieces of math went together, they complemented each other because it's not something that's so wild and then something that's so easy. They're both equally as simple. They're both things you can technically do in your head if you wanted to. Tools are always easier, but you can do it in your head. And like, I mean, even in your clinic, I came out and I was just plinking around. I wasn't part of it. But until I started shooting the prairie dogs, I didn't miss a single plate in the wind. And I was switching. I started on the right side and was going down there, then the middle. Then I went on the left side when I was by the prairie dogs and I was hitting the other angles. I didn't miss a single plate in the wind with the 6 arc. I just ran the numbers and did it. And I was like, I did the same thing. I hit a couple dots. I went, where the hell did I hit that? And then I had to get and zoom in. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm in the paint. I couldn't see it because I'm in the paint, on the
Right.
line or in the dot. And that happened several times by making those wind calls and playing the angles. So it worked out really well. And that's with the 6 arc that I'm switching to. I went from the 108 to the 103, like I said. On Saturday, I shot the 103 the entire time. The day before that, I was shooting the arc. I was the 108 the entire time. And I just swapped them out because I moved the scope around. And when I re-zeroed it, I just did it with the 103 instead of the 108 because I had zeroed it with the 108.
Right.
So,
Now I'm going to stop because people listening, you say I was shooting prairie dogs. Guys, when Frank shoots prairie dogs, they're like 800 or 900 yards. Prairie
yeah.
dogs are about 1/10 wide and about 3/10 tall at 800, 900 yards. So when Frank goes, oh yeah, I was shooting at prairie dogs and I didn't miss till I shot at them. He's not shooting prairie dogs at 150 yards. He's shooting them at 800 to 900 yards.
Yeah,
They are very, very small.
the closest ones I shot Saturday were 620, and then I took them to 8 something, 8 and change is the last one that I shot, but I shot them between 620 and we'll call them 850. Is where, and
Yeah.
everything was in between there. And I really liked using the Burris XTRPS because, like, I don't range them. I'm like, that's about there because I see a plate around it and I go, okay, that's a 600-yard plate. He's there, and I throw a number out, and then I'll kind of, they don't move. I'm so far away. Like, unless I throw dirt on them. When I throw dirt for a shot and I miss, but I throw dirt on top of them, they move. But
Yeah, they're standing there and you're like, "Phew," and it hits here and they go,
yeah,
they
and
just
so
look.
it gives so what I was finding with that XTRPS in yards, I was like, "Okay, I'm on 620. Nope, that's not enough, but wait a minute. If I go, 5 yards more and then I hit that one and then like a couple of them I'm like, "Okay, that's another 20 yards more." And I added the 20 yards and I was so much closer than I normally would have been just trying to add a tenth or two or looking at the reticle where it went and going, that might be 3/10 more, but the ground's not flat. It's got a hill, like an angle going up, so it's a little weird to do it that way. But with the PS and dialing the yard line in the HUD, I was able to say, "Oh yeah, I know that's that far, and I know if I go 25 more yards, I'm going to be right there." And I think just having the yard reading in front of me made a little bit of a difference on shooting some of those prairie dogs. But I really enjoy that PS scope, that Burris. When you see them this weekend, if Jordan is there, make sure you tell him that I'm enjoying using it and been spitting out some video because I haven't spoke to the Burris people, but Jordan should
Yeah,
be
they
there.
they have a ton of people. I mean, shit, you should come up and just shoot because Burris is so chill. Like, I mean, you have a tee time, you shoot for your tee time, which the field matches, 40 minutes, you're
Yeah.
doing it. And then you've got like 4 hours to just do nothing and hang out or chill or go back, eat something or talk to the burst guys. And then you shoot the assault course. And then you do that for 3 days. Sky's always, I mean, there's always
Yeah,
at
I
least
got this
six
from
burst
Jordan,
guys.
right? I got this from Jordan. So if you see Jordan, that's who I met, and he took care of Sniper's Hide for doing all that. But I do find that scope is very comfortable to use, very easy, worked with the battery, without. Um, Even because I switched the rings on it, I put the riser and Burris's signature rings to pick it up because they only gave me one MOA or 1 inch rings. So I I originally had it in that Night Force 1.9, but the cantilever was too far forward for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it. It was like one notch and I couldn't bring it back anymore. And so I took that cantilever apart. I put one of our Monstrum risers on it, and then I put their rings on the riser to pick it up a bit because they gave me the 1-inch rings. And I thought the scope was nice. I think it's comfortable. I think the app is fast and easy. Like I reset the level. It's a button push. I just get the scope where I wanted it. Like the first time I did it on the fly, I hit it. And then when I moved over to the bench or somewhere else, I felt it wasn't where I wanted it. Cause like I would get to a spot and the electronic level moved. I'm like, nah, that's not supposed to move. I go, that's not right. So I re-leveled it, button push. I just opened the app, connected, hit the button, level, level. And all I did is made sure, yeah, it's just level, level. And
Wow.
then the other stuff was just push the button and it was perfect.
But it
Um,
doesn't record, does it? Like
I
we have to
know.
use I took out the trigger cam this morning, but because of the ammo deal I just left, but I did take 2 shots, but I put in a shim and then some tape, but it moved, so I recorded like 3 shots. But I think if we just put trigger cam on there, we could show all that stuff on a
Yeah,
video.
no, because I tried to film and like like my phone, it sparkles. It doesn't read the LED. It like looks like sparkles and firework when I tried to put my phone to it. I could take a
Oh.
picture of it. And then when I filmed it with my little camera, you could barely see it. It's like shadowed. It doesn't stick out. Now I could probably
Mm,
bump the brightness up, but your trigger cam should see it like I see it. And it's
hmm
very elegant. It's like the Revic. It's not much different than the Revic as far as the elegance of it goes, but because it just has the main button and then the plus or minus, it's very quick. Where the Revic had 5 buttons,
hmm
the Burris has 3. One an activate and then an up and down. Either yes, no, it's go, go, or up and down kind of. And so
It'd be
it's
fun to
very
do like a time test with, without it
yeah.
and with it to
Well,
engage
like you'd have
targets.
to come up to the stage, would it be in match timer mode? And then when you get there, hit the button. You know what I mean? So you kind of want it to be you have to preset the menu. You wouldn't want to go in and change the menu on the fly, but you can. It's still a scroll in
Yeah.
hitting.
Shit, we should go to Pawnee with it, and then we'll
Yeah,
compare like two different platforms.
I just like because you saw I'm in the same boat as you. I ripped everything apart. I put everything back together, and I hadn't doped out. I really didn't dope the arc completely yet because I kept switching ammo. I was working in the shorter, so I hadn't even doped it, especially in the wind. We've had that stupid wind. So it's like I'm not going to dope it and do the gravity ballistics because the wind when I get here is going to be a bad number. So
Yeah.
I didn't do the entire thing. So like I switched, I haven't even shot when I moved the terminuses around and I put the proof barrel on my other terminus, the one I normally shoot all the time, the green one.
hmm
I haven't even zeroed that up with the 100 grain ammo with the proof barrel. So that terminus is not put together. The arc isn't doped, and I switched that scope twice now. And then the the what do you call it? The Detroit Gunworks in the 6.5. I had that one little moment of speed up where it changed like 25, 35 feet per second. It changed on me. So I kind of went up, I'm waiting, it changed. Because damn Garmin's, you get to see everything now, And I was like, wait a minute, is that changing? And I popped it out and it's like, yeah, it just changed. So
Well,
I'm,
Dave flies in at midnight, and then we leave for Wyoming I don't know. I don't know when we're gonna go. It depends on zeroing and shit like that. But I could bring this over tomorrow morning, so you have it just to see if the config, or I'll just leave it, and you can
Yeah, I
mess
was gonna
around with the
say we'll
different.
get it. Yeah, I'll get it because I have the vision all put together, and like I said, all
Because
if I
this you could put weights here to balance out the back because it doesn't weigh much. I mean, you got the
right,
MDT because it's
yeah.
not
Well,
super light, but it'd be cool to configure that.
mm-hmm. Well, that's what I plan to do. It's configured right now, but it has the potential to be at max weight. So when I put it together without putting a scope on it, like I just threw my zero comp 4 to 20 on it. That's heavy, and it's
Mhm.
got the area 419. That's not super heavy, but it's not a bad mount. Um, I didn't weigh that yet, but just putting it in the chassis, it was 14.1. So
Gotcha.
I know I can pull some weight out of it, because there is a weight in it, and then in the channel, I have a weight up
But
front.
let's see if we can get it under 12 just in something and then compare. We can
Yeah,
compare, well, what's the difference between 12 and,
and
14, 15,
16. Yeah,
16?
16. I
Like,
can max it.
because it's the same barreled action. So, and then having it set up, like, is there a difference if the balance is good? But with that barrel, the balance, the weight distribution is nice. Like, it's going to shoot really good.
Yeah, yeah, and like that I didn't want that to kind of disappear, and that way, if you needed it down the road, you can have it and use it, or even if you go to a hunter, just take it. We could just drop it in that zero it and go.
Yeah. I have three barrels that they're brand new, just that I have from over the years. I have a carbon 6.5, a carbon 6.5 PRC, and then I have a steel 22 GT. I don't know how the hell we'll get ammo for it, but um
Actually, my GT here, I have 22. 22 GT. I
no, it's
have one.
22 GT, so
Oh,
it's,
I got
we could
six
get like
GT.
90 grainers and just see what
Yeah, I
see what
got six.
happens.
I got six GT, and I have ammo for six GT. I don't have 22 GT.
Because I thought years ago when people were doing that, I thought, well, maybe there's merit to that small bullet hauling ass, but now
Yeah,
everything's small and hauls ass.
but that's the Valkyrie. I can make my Valkyrie the exact same as I could do the 85.5 in my Valkyrie, and it's identical to a 22 GT.
Yeah, but anyway, I have a barrel I could put on a impact, but I don't know what we're going to do with it. Maybe, I mean, it's
You
not
mean
going anywhere, so
a 22? You mean just 22 GT barrel? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we just got to find ammo for it. But it'd be fun just to do like some kind of big caliber showdown kind of thing.
Well, and I really like the idea of the barreled action, and I really like the thought of, you know, 2 or 3 chassis that give you the flexibility to meet the criteria, and then
Hmm.
just kinda working that model versus I got golf clubs, and we all do.
Yeah,
And the thing is the golf club, which is great in one way, but it's not great because then you're managing it. And then, like I said, because we do switch barrels so much, then we start tearing the golf clubs apart because that's our most favorite club. It's like, oh, this is the one I'm always shooting, and I'm not doing this anymore. So let me switch it back to this. And then it's like,
yeah.
oh, I got to go do that. Let me put it back to where it was. I ran out of time, you know?
And we could post like a spreadsheet of here are our configurations for this barreled action,
Yeah.
12,
Yeah.
15, 20, or
No,
something
and I
like
and I
that.
and honestly, like I thought that was the economy of a barreled action. Even like my Detroit Gunworks with a Schneider, it's a 6.5 Creed, and their 3 lug action with their dual ejectors, and they're a short throw 3 lug as well. They're like 20, anywhere from 2 grand to 2,500 depending on the barrel. So whatever
Hmm.
barrel you pick sets the tone. But that's really reasonable in this day and age to spend 2 grand, or even like the Solus 1,800. You know, a Solus barreled
Yeah.
action can run you right around 1,800. And your Solus action is nice. That Solus is a very good action to run that stuff.
Yeah.
You're spending 1,800 bucks and it it gets you in the game, whatever game you want to play. It just becomes the configuration. So the stock,
Hmm.
right? And I was thinking about that cuz um I was on a long phone call yesterday. I'm going to do a podcast on it. There's a LE event with a guy. I don't know if you met him. He came through here one day, and you might have met him at the State House 38 by my house when we met people there once, twice. You might have been there, but anyway, there's a cop from South Florida who's having an LE event, and Jacob was going down to do something, and I said I would come down and do something with him. It's in December, so it's like cool. I'll go to Miami in December, no problem. You know, and right, and I was thinking about that.
Hmm.
That because he was talking tripod and he was talking get game changers and he was talking what he wanted to do because they have that Altair place down in South Florida, and he's going
Yeah.
to be at Altair, and he's talking the props and all this stuff, and the factor from old and new is the interruption of the stock and the chassis on the bags. Either it
Hmm.
flows and it works, or something hitches and it's not right. Like if
Hmm.
you take it, and even he said to me, he goes, "You're gonna find in South Florida here, LE is AI heavy. They're gonna have AIs everywhere." Well, the AT the AT chassis doesn't really work props as well as an AX or the ATX. So now if you start going to the AT chassis that the cops have, that recoil pulse is completely going to change when they're on the tripods in the bags.
Hmm.
So you have to address that different than a comp guy with a flat bottom railed gun,
Sure. Sure.
And so that's where I'm kind of getting at, and this is where all it's like, you know, balancing the Springfield behind you versus balancing the ATX behind you, balancing the ATX versus balancing the AR, things like that. That you have your craft down, but those guys who are learning, who are alternating, maybe they're a comp guy one way and then a working guy another. That's two different recoil pulses that
Right.
you have to deal with. It's crazy, but
Right. That's actually not a bad chapter to put in the tips and tricks thing. Like,
yeah,
if you've
yeah.
got this, here's a way to get around the issue that it's providing
Well, and
on
it's
a
a
balance
balance
level.
factor too. Think about how everybody in the comp world now balances their rifle for the tripods, balances their rifle for the bag. Cops aren't balancing nothing.
Right. Right.
That's not in
But
their
we could
head.
say in advance, just do this and
Right.
it'll
Well, and
help.
that's where you get, can you balance a rear bag on a bipod to keep the nose from rising? Sure. Especially if you got a nice heavy bag. I could put my bipod out forward. I could put the rifle on the tripod. And if I'm getting my muzzle flip, I could take my rear bag and slide it over the legs of my bipod to put weight forward. Tips and tricks, right?
Yeah, figuring out where the right position would be wouldn't take a long time to do at the range.
No. And so it's this, because the problem is we're trying to solve too many problems,
Yeah,
in a
it'd be a
lot.
fun one. I think that would be fun to do though, because we could figure out where's the fulcrum for that, um and then just do a video. It'd be
Yeah.
cool.
And that was one of the reasons I didn't come out today, because I'm waiting for that ammo, and I want to do a barreled action video with both of them, and then putting, because like when I went to Mile High the other day to pick up the barreled action, I grabbed internal weights for the ATX chassis. and
Oh.
right, because they have those little thin, long internals now, and
Hmm.
I grabbed two of them, one to put on the chassis that the Detroit Gunworks is in to show that, and then I have another one to put on the Terminus that because I have a proof barrel on it now. Normally, I have the two weights up front on that green stock. It has the two,
Yeah,
but I
on
could
both
just
sides.
right. I could just
Yeah,
put the internal and maybe take off the two and go with a
right.
pound versus one. So it's it's
Yeah,
all these options, and where do these options fall into our you know ecosystem?
right, right. But speaking of today, like, man, I'm glad you didn't come because I was there for 10, 15 minutes,
Yeah,
cursing and kicking, and then like, all right, gotta go deal with this. And then, oh man, it just snowballed from there. But yeah, those would be good videos. And the chassis configuration, and then just say, look, here's how we're configuring this stuff based on the barreled actions and the scopes we have
yeah,
to meet and then here's how they shoot different. And we can have like a record of the groups that they shoot positionally, based on the balance distribution. Would be a cool chart to do.
right, right, and that's why I wanted to number one look at the barreled action world, and which I did, and I have the two there that I think the soulless. And I was kind of psyched at first when you said you had your barreled action over there. I'm thinking you had an impact. And I'm like, I don't want an impact. And then it was like you had a soulless, and I'm like, oh, three lug soulless, take it. And so that kind of made my decision a little easier that it was the soulless short throw and not an impact, even if it had the 75-degree bolt. I have no interest in a two lug bolt in 2025. So
No, that I mean that's going to be a hammer,
yeah,
and that it was chambered and stuff by the Desert Precision guys, and you know they're good. They got, I mean, you got to wait forever, but he smiths good stuff, so it's gonna. I'm
yeah.
sure it's gonna shoot good. So
Well, like I said, I only wanted to play with it, and then you can go run off with it and go put it in your element and go shoot your matches with it. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
no, but I want you to be able to like show the different chassis because like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
one thing people see them and they're like, okay, I like the look of that, but how about the performance? And then being able to talk about the balance, and because I have a couple of these and they're just sitting in the closet
yeah.
right
You
now
were
because
you
I
were
don't have enough barreled
not
action.
M element. Who am I thinking? XLR. You were a sponsored XLR guy, so I'm sure you got a half dozen in there.
Yeah, at first, and then I had to drop so I could talk about everything, um, and not get in trouble shooting whatever I
Oh, that's
wanted.
right.
So
You had a you. They wanted you just with. I get it. But that's the sponsorship. But anyway, we've been here for a while, dude. We got a nice crew of people on. And we've been on for like almost an hour and a half here. And I know you got things to do, and I do. I was,
I just got to zero that gun to make sure that today was the ammo fluke, not something bigger.
yeah, yeah, some crazy stuff. Yeah, I was up. I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning again. Like I was managed to fall back to sleep. Got up at 4. Then I was sitting there like at my normal 4 o'clock. I'm up. I'm watching TV. I'm like, I'm not going to bed. So then I grabbed my phone off the charger. Somebody called me at 4:45 in the morning. I'm like, who the hell called me at 4:45 in the morning? So I always Google the number. I Google the number. I knew him, but I didn't know that number. I'm like, why is this person calling me at 4:45 in the morning? And I waited till like 9, 10 o'clock because they're actually Connecticut. And I called back and left the number, and then they called me, and it was just like I was actually when they called me back, I was getting ready to try to take a nap before we did the podcast. I was exhausted, so like 1:30, 2 o'clock, I'm like I'm laying down. I'm gonna take a nap. I just get down. I'm getting heavy eyelids. My phone rang, and it was them, and they wanted to talk. I was like, I was going to sleep, but that didn't work.
Well,
So
shit.
anyway,
Well, go to bed early.
yeah, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
wanted to
try.
take a nap, but too much to
Yeah,
do. And then I
yeah.
got to get Dave at midnight. So, um, and Riley's gonna just be like, "What? What are we doing? It's midnight. What are we doing?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, fuck.
Yeah, yeah, I get you.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
it should be
But thanks
crazy lately.
everybody for dropping in and saying hi to Chris, Riflecraft, Frank, Sniper's Hide, The Hide. Videos are up on
Yeah, yeah.
both. We've been there doing our thing. For the podcast people, thanks for being on for an hour. See, like if you guys watch the video, I made the point of recording, so I have the podcast recorded. But if you guys just watch the video, you would make my life so much easier instead of having to take all my pieces and parts and put them where they belong, you know? But
A lot of
good luck.
people. I mean, the number's been solid, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'm psyched.
Good luck this
We should
weekend.
like tell them to like send 100 questions that we could just do a question answer, and then we could just address 10 questions, and we could do those like before next week and have them out and keep the conversation going.
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't see the chat stuff, but yeah, I
Yeah,
better
there's
get
only
out
been
of
a
here
couple
before
people
the sun
talking.
sets. I have an hour.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, guys.
I just want to zero it, put some grease on there, and then
Mm-hmm.
cross my
Mm-hmm.
fingers that it's good.
All righty.
I'll
We're
send you
out
a
of here.
text in a little bit. All right.
All right, we're
Bye.
out. Later.